don't like Juneteenth, and I'm going to tell you why I don't like Juneteenth, because I don't like things that are stupid. That's kind of really it.
Wait. Okay, I knew this was going to be bad, but so far, what, we're 36 seconds in? This feels like the type of thing you would play for a prisoner to torture them for information. So, Juneteenth is lame. Why do you not like Juneteenth? Because you don't like stupid things. You're begging the question, dipshit. You have to tell me why it's stupid. Candace, I don't like you. Oh, well, why don't you like me? Because I don't like idiots. Checkmate. Gotcha. Wrecked. Ladies and gentlemen, yesterday was Father's Day, okay? That's why, of course, you're now watching a video with your daddy on screen. But it wasn't just Father's Day, it was also Juneteenth. I know that there are some people here that are not too familiar with Juneteenth. What does it even mean? Why are we celebrating Juneteenth? What is all of this happening? Is it Juneteenth? Why not July-teenth, you know? So it's actually very simple. Obviously, you just Google Juneteenth. And Juneteenth is a federal holiday in the United States commemorating the emancipation of enslaved African Americans. I'm just, reciting this. This certainly does not come from Wikipedia or anything, okay? Also, guys, did you know that Juneteenth marks the anniversary of the announcement of General Order Number 3 by Union Army General Gordon Granger, which happened, did you guys know, again, saying this out of memory, on June 19th, 1865. Ta-da! But yeah, that's why we celebrate Juneteenth, all kidding aside. It is when the last enslaved people were freed. Also known as Emancipation Day or Freedom Day, Juneteenth commemorates June 19th, 1865, when federal troops arrived in Texas and gave word to enslaved African Americans that they were free, more than 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was signed. So it's certainly worth celebrating. This is a big deal. Here we got rid of slavery, but then 2 years later in this part of Texas, we still had enslaved individuals. We still had people that were here under the boot of slavery, and they were the last slaves to be free, which then meant that all slaves, all enslaved people, were finally free across the country. This is a good thing. This is a really big deal, and this is absolutely worth celebrating. Every June 19th, it is now recognized as a federal holiday, thanks to Joe Biden. So, because this is something worth celebrating, because this is something that acknowledges both a fault of America, but also the way in which America went about improving this fault, and because this came from Biden, Republicans hate it. Because, what does it mean to be a Republican nowadays? It means to just be an NPC who says, Democrats bad, Democrats bad, Democrats bad. If the Democrats do it, it's bad. And if the Democrats push for it, it's bad. If the Democrats like it, it's bad. You don't have to understand why. Don't think about it, okay? The Democrats like it. What? Dude, it's got the D next to it, okay? Bad. Last year, we reviewed Charlie Kirk's video in which he said that this was trampling on the 4th of July? What? There's a difference between when we declared our independence and then when slavery was done away with. These are two federal holidays that are separate, that have different meanings. I don't understand why they would be against this, but again, Democrats, bad. So I did some digging. I looked around. If anybody here is aware of any newer videos in which conservatives whine and cry and cope and wet their diapers about a holiday recognizing freeing black people, please let me know because I would love to watch it. For the time being, I found a video that actually came out last year when this Juneteenth thing was first introduced. So we had a lot more people talking about it at the time. And one of the people that spoke about this was none other than our good friend, Candace Owens. Now, just if she made this video in regards to Juneteenth last year, I cannot imagine that it's any less relevant or pertinent to Juneteenth this year. So Candace Owens, a black woman, is against a holiday in which we recognize that America did away with slavery in the last part of the country. Why is she mad about this? Again, don't know, haven't watched the video, but I figured we'd all sit down, kick back, and relax as Candace Owens explains to us that she doesn't support Juneteenth being a federal holiday. Here's why. Brace yourselves, everybody. I haven't even seen the video, but this is most likely going to be 5 minutes of pure torture that is going to result in all of us wishing we were dead. So let's go ahead.
I broke my very own record. I trended for 72 hours on Twitter. That's the longest I have ever trended on Twitter. And the reason was because I sent out a tweet. The tweet was, ready? Juneteenth is so lame.
So before we get into the canned laughter, why is it lame? Like, that's worthy of criticism. You're saying a holiday where we recognize the last slaves who were finally freed, which followed then that all the slaves in the entire country were free. Why would this be lame? Why is this bad? Do we know? No. It's because Democrats. Remember, Democrats bad. If it comes from Biden, it's bad. If it was Trump that did this, she would be up here not only throating his cock, but also preaching about how this is just proof that Donald Trump isn't a racist. Okay? Donald Trump can't be racist. He did Juneteenth. But then when Biden does it, it's lame. Bad. Democrats bad.
Ready? Juneteenth is so lame. Internet fireworks. People were explosive. They couldn't.
The laugh track literally ended short. There's no way that was real. Is there really an audience there? I bet there was like a couple crew members that were just like, ha ha ha. And then they just kind of like mix that in with a bunch of other recorded laugh tracks at like a real comedy show.
Believe that I would say that. Candace, don't you understand? How could you? How dare you? Candace, you are a pawn. I don't like Juneteenth, and I'm going to tell you why I don't like Juneteenth, because I don't like things that are stupid. That's kind of really it.
Wait. Okay, I knew this was going to be bad, but so far, what, we're 36 seconds in? This feels like the type of thing you would play for a prisoner to torture them for information. So, Juneteenth is lame. Why do you not like Juneteenth? Because you don't like stupid things. You're begging the question, dipshit. You have to tell me why it's stupid. Candace, I don't like you. Oh, well, why don't you like me? Because I don't like idiots. Checkmate. Gotcha. Wrecked. But yeah, this does not make any sense at all. Okay, please continue. And then we have to deal with the fucking laugh track again. Take it away, Candace. Or should I be saying, I don't know, Seinfeld?
I don't like Juneteenth, and I'm going to tell you why I don't like Juneteenth, because I don't like things that are stupid. That's kind of really it. I don't like things that don't make sense. I don't like things that don't even have anything to do with the history that it claims to represent. If you're going to talk...
What? Maybe I shouldn't be pausing this every 10 seconds. That might help me understand better what her point is, but we know why we celebrate Juneteenth, Candace.
Talk about celebrating the emancipation of slavery. Weren't there some other more interesting dates that would maybe make more sense? For example, first and foremost, of course, it was January 1st of 1863 that President Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves in rebel states through the Emancipation Proclamation.
So why do we need to be celebrating it? So you're saying you would be cool with it being celebrated so long as it was on like January 1st? The significance of Juneteenth was that was where, in Texas, that's where the last group of enslaved people were still living as slaves. So when they were freed 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, that led to the end of slavery nationally. It wouldn't be January 1st, Candace, because that's New Year's, right? Like there's already a federal holiday there. Unless, do you want to like stick two of them on? Two federal holidays? What's wrong with getting an extra day off work and taking a little break with the family while also remembering something good that America did, which was ending slavery nationally? Well, hopefully, Candace, you will take a break from your, New Year's drunken stupor to get up and say how, actually, today's Emancipation Day, so I don't have to recognize Juneteenth.
Well, we don't celebrate January 1st for anything other than New Year's Day. We don't hear any chatter about the Emancipation Proclamation. That would maybe make a little more sense. But what about December 18th, 1865? That was the date that Congress and the states outlawed slavery throughout the country with the ratification and proclamation of the 13th Amendment.
This is like the same type of argument that Charlie Kirk was making also. So you're mad about it being on June 19th? Something tells me that if Biden, with his rickety, shaky hands, signed something that said, December 13th will now be a federal holiday, you'd be up here reeing about it just the same because Biden did it, therefore Democrats bad, and you're an NPC.
It would seem like a perfect date if you wanted to actually celebrate freedom in this country. But nope. The left instead has landed on June 19th, 1865.
The left has landed on June 19th. No, it was recognized. Wasn't it celebrated for a long time? Doesn't this have like a rich history of being celebrated? I need to brush up on my holiday info. Juneteenth is a holiday commemorating the end of slavery. It is also called Emancipation Day. Candace, hey, you hearing this? Emancipation Day. Not many people are familiar, blah, blah, blah. It's been here we go. Juneteenth has been celebrated as a holiday within the African American community since 1866. Thank you. That's all I needed to know. So, Candace, this is not the left just like waking up one day and then sipping their soy latte going, you know what, today's June 19th. I'd really like a break from work. Why don't we just label this as a fucking holiday? That's not how this is working, Candace. All right, I know that like your job is to be an idiot, but seriously, you can just read about how this has a rich history of being celebrated already. So it was recognized by the government as a federal holiday. It already existed as a holiday. Now it's just a federal holiday. But okay, again, there's nothing to complain about. So she just kind of has to make something up to be offended by. I understand, Candace. It's hard to be a snowflake. I get it.
Called, of course, Juneteenth, where a very less significant event occurred. A general by the name of Granger entered Texas and announced that Lincoln had freed the slaves 3 years earlier.
Wait, how is this of lesser significance? She doesn't know the history of this at all, but it's okay. She's like, this is the problem with people like this. She is paid to be a moron. She cannot change her mind. She cannot have a deep, nuanced view of current events because conservatives are dumb as shit. Most of them are hanging out on their fucking trailer park, too busy to even understand the full scope of what's even being said. So Candace knows this. She has to go out and say a bunch of dumb talking points because she is literally paid. She's paid to do this. That's why I really hate engaging with people like Candace Owens, Charlie Kirk. Anytime you have a conservative that is signed with like a big conservative network, I'm not saying you shouldn't talk to them. Believe me, if I had a chance to debate Candace Owens, I would. The problem is that they are paid to hold certain positions. So it's virtually impossible that they're ever going to actually change their position. Even if their position is stupid as shit, they're still going to just cling to it because they're paid to be dumb. It's really, really a bummer, actually. And it's not like they're trying to be dishonest, but you at the same time cannot expect them to be honest because, again, they're paid to prop up only one position and one point of view.
What? That's what we're celebrating? There is literally no historical argument to be made about why we would be using Juneteenth or celebrating Juneteenth as a federal holiday.
Wait, what? Why would you say this, Candace? There's no historical reason. What about the 1866 thing, Candace? Juneteenth has been celebrated as a holiday within the African American community since 1866. The Emancipation Proclamation officially freed all enslaved people in the rebelling southern states in 1863. However, some areas without the presence of the Union Army didn't enforce it. June 19th, 1865 marks the day Granger, commanding the Union Army, formally announced the order. Juneteenth symbolizes justice and fair treatment for all. It's a time to reflect on its history and the growth of our nation. Yeah, but no history, guys. See, this... I don't know if I should be like laughing or just get really depressed about this because the conservatives at this point are so fucking predictable. How many conservatives have we talked to or reviewed that unironically weaponize their own ignorance? She's like, I'm a dumbass. I don't know the history to this. So my argument is that there is no history to justify this. No, honey. Go fucking look shit up on Google. I know that right now your oil billionaires are waving their fat wad of cash in your face, so you can't really do that. But seriously, I would like it if they would just try. Just try.
No historical argument. But of course, there is a political argument. There's always a political argument. Everything the Democrats do and get crazy about has to do with something that they are trying to attain. They don't care.
Wait. I need my inner zen right now and my inner peace, okay? They're the Democrats. Can you answer me a question? Can you be a non-political Democrat? Democrat refers to a political ideology and political position. Of course, if the Democrats do this, there is a political reason. That's called politics. Okay. Yep. Just don't worry about it, guys. Paid to take her brain out. It's, oh my God. All right.
About black people. They don't care about Black history. They don't care about celebrating. They don't care about unity.
How do you know?
In fact, Joe Biden actually said this. He said that Juneteenth is, quote, a day in which we remember the moral stain and the terrible toll that slavery took on the country and continues to take, end quote.
Yes, actually. So slavery has been done away with. It was a terrible blemish on American history. It still has results. Maybe it's a little reductionist to say slavery only, but then there was slavery, then there was Jim Crow, then there was the drug war. It was basically an entire history of oppression that still has negative effects today. This is why I focus on redlining and the drug war quite a lot. This is, yes, Candace, what Biden said there was completely accurate. Apparently you're the one with dementia because you're not even able to understand like a simple sentence, but most people with even half a brain can understand what Biden was getting at here. A history of oppression can result in current negative effects still affecting people that were historically oppressed. Yes. Unless you're going to tell me that one, you don't think history has consequences, and two, you don't recognize that if you knock one domino over, more dominoes will fall.
Make you feel? Do you want to celebrate? Doesn't that sound like a fun day to celebrate? At least he's being honest, right? Because that's it. That is exactly what this holiday is about. Besides giving our do-nothing government another day that they get to stay home.
Wait, couldn't you say the same thing about like any holiday? Usually holidays have some negative thing that was fought back against in order to achieve the benefit, which then resulted in the holiday. I'm being super vague there. But like the 4th of July, we had people that died, thousands and thousands of men shot, killed, bloody on the battlefield. That sounds like a really fun thing to celebrate, huh? Come on. We're celebrating the overall concept of achieving our independence.
What this federal holiday is actually about is constantly reminding Black Americans that we are somehow different, that we are apart from the American dream. That this is not our country, that we should still be angry. That
What? I literally need a mic from PA what sound effect that I can just play like every 5 seconds when I watch one of these brain dead videos. No, Candace. It's not the holiday making Black people feel as if they're different. It's the fucking history of oppression in America that makes Black people feel as if they're different. Because for a long time, Black people were treated as if they were different, and there are still negative effects there. I feel like every time now, every response I'm making is like me getting mad and then ending with just okay, because you sort of just have to accept it, you know? Calm down, everybody. Just accept it. This is our fate. These are the people that actually have influence.
things are owed to us, that it's not okay. It's all about emotional arguments. You call me upon, I'm calling you upon if you thought this was a good holiday. If you thought this was about anything more than the Democrats trying to keep us in a perpetual state of anger and fear.
So let's go through, by the way, like even the general logical structure, which there's barely one. But let's go through as much as we can the logical structure here of her argument. Her argument is Juneteenth is lame because the Democrats are just political and want to make black people feel oppressed and mad. Therefore, Juneteenth is lame. Your middle premise there is nothing but an assertion, Candace. Can you peer inside the minds of Democrats? No. Do you know that Democrats genuinely don't care about black people and they just want to make this holiday, lol? No. Now, you could make an argument that here are more pertinent issues that are currently affecting black people, and instead Democrats are really focusing on making this Juneteenth thing a federal holiday. Maybe they need to get their priorities straight. But again, you couldn't make that argument because one, that argument would actually be a decent one, and two, in order to make that argument, you would have to recognize systemic racism, which again, we've already acknowledged, you're too much of a pussy-ass bitch to do. We're left here with her claim, the premise that apparently justifies the claim, and then a result that apparently proves the claim, but your premise is literally just a blind assertion. Democrats don't care. They just want us to be mad. You don't know any of this at all. And even if that were true, you cannot actually demonstrate it.
Juneteenth, I'm going to file under critical race theory. I'm going to file alongside the 1619 Project. All of these efforts are from that.
Wait, a holiday that recognizes a historical fact to you is now critical race theory? Okay, cool. Well then, thank you, Candace. You've now made me think that critical race theory is actually based. Cool. Well, hey, I mean, if critical race theory is literally just recognizing a historical fact about black people being freed from slavery, fuck, I guess critical race theory is based AF. You're destroying your point, Candace. You think that by lumping it in with critical race theory, you can make this holiday seem like a bad thing. Instead, you're watering down critical race theory to mean virtually nothing. And certainly it no longer comes across as a spooky leftist ploy like you're trying to convey.
Democrats, and they are meant to use Black Americans in their perpetual revolution. Because that's what it is. It's perpetual revolution. These Marxist ideologies are essentially saying to the world that there will never be a fix, no matter what. Already, the politicians are saying Juneteenth is not enough. It's not enough. There needs to be reparations. There needs to be this. There needs to be more. It's never going to be enough. Do you get it? Wake up. There is not any effort to actually solve things. They want Black Americans to be the angry pawns.
Wait, how is a celebration equal anger? Like, that doesn't even make sense, even on like the surface level. Yay, we're so busy celebrating. Hell yeah, I'm so happy. But I'm also really mad. What? Not everybody's like a hormonal mess like you are, Candace. Like, well, what do you mean?
That's why they decided to, on this Juneteenth, erect a statue of George Floyd. Wow. Cool. That's how we're celebrating? Yes, a statue of George Floyd was erected in Brooklyn, New York on Juneteenth.
Cool.
It's a giant...
Yeah, it's probably the only erection you're ever going to see. Ha, got him.
Block of his face with several quotes on it. One quote is, quote, George Floyd was hunted. Knees were used to pray. Yeah, you get it. You know what that's about.
Okay. I mean, that's probably a little silly quote, considering there was no like real intent to hunt George Floyd. But again, in concept, having a statue that helps us remember one of the largest, most nationally recognized symbols of systemic racism and police brutality, which disproportionately affects Black people, is not a bad thing at all. And I already know what her response to this would be. I don't know if she's going to say it, but again, she's very predictable. Odds are she'd say something like, he was a criminal. Why do we have a statue up of a fucking criminal? First of all, you don't make those arguments when we're talking about keeping statues up of other people who are a nationally recognized symbol when they had slaves or were Confederate soldiers. You never bring up their record in regards to whether or not we should take their statues down, right? Second of all, criminal past has nothing to do with anything. Why was the George Floyd statue put up? It was put up to help us remember an act of injustice that took place that happens disproportionately to Black people across the fucking country. That's what the point of that statue was. No human is perfect. Every statue we have of anybody also has a past that I'm sure there's a couple things they did that we would object to. The statue was erected for a specific reason. The reason was to help us remember that symbol and the negative effects that still hurt Black people. The reason that some of these Confederate monuments that you, by the way, fight to keep up, they were unironically put up to intimidate Black people. They were put up as a middle finger by the South to the rest of the country. They were put up to honor an anti-American thug regime that tried to fight to keep slaves in chains. They were put up there to say fuck you to the rest of America and to intimidate the freed Blacks that lived amongst them. So, again, I don't know why we're going to just like assume statue bad. Again, she's paid to be an idiot, so there's no nuance here.
An actual criminal, a man who spent his entire life traumatizing Black Americans.
There we go. I had it, and I promise you I did not watch this beforehand. They're literally all NPCs. A literal criminal. Candace, every motherfucker has committed some kind of a crime. Are we not going to put a statue up of I don't know, President Trump because he had an affair, because he got a speeding ticket? I can't believe I just called that. I really need to start putting money on this shit.
Little criminal, a man who spent his entire life traumatizing Black Americans, is now being honored and erected. People thought it was a joke when I said this is where it would end. Of course, George Floyd.
Wait, terrorizing Black Americans? You realize he's also helped other Black Americans also, right? Like, I believe he was married. I know for a fact he had children. He was working very hard to improve his life. That's why he was even in the location in which he got killed. What are you talking about right now, Candace? This is the thing, too. They bring up, well, did you hear about when he held a gun to a pregnant woman's belly? First of all, I mean, I know he committed armed robbery. I think there's actually evidence lacking in regards to the claim that he held a gun to a pregnant woman's stomach. Even if he did, obviously we can acknowledge armed robbery is fucking bad. That's terrible. But they also conveniently leave out the fact that he went to prison for it. How long must you be criminalized and demonized for a crime you committed and then paid the price for, and have now been released from prison back into society trying to improve your life. How long are we going to bring up their past crimes? And what would be the answer to that, Candace? Should he have been locked up for life? Should he have to go back to jail? Does that justify him being killed? If the answer to any of those questions is no, then your argument is literally worthless. It's a red herring presented only to distract from the overall point. Yeah, George Floyd, for a long time, was a career criminal. He was a bad person. He committed crimes. That's not good. But guess what? I don't care if you're a fucking criminal. Getting killed by the police with a knee on your neck after saying I can't breathe is also bad. That's also a criminal offense. That also contradicts the American principle of due process. The police exist to either neutralize violent threats in the moment, to de-escalate, or to take people who are suspected of a crime to a jury of their peers where they can then be judged. And the fact that the police killed a man while he was saying I can't breathe, and it was a prolonged thing that happened, is also bad, Candace. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. I don't care if you pull up a fucking record of somebody and they're a fucking pedophile. I don't care. I don't care if you pull up a record of someone and say, this person molested 3 people, he raped 3 people, and then murdered 3 people. If he was killed to stop him from committing an act like that, obviously if you're in the middle of committing a rape and the cop shoots you, cool, that's fine. Like, you have to neutralize the violent threat. But if we're talking about somebody driving down the street, getting pulled over, and then being killed in the process when they weren't exhibiting any violent actions or behaviors, I don't care what their record is. I literally don't. Because if their record is bad, if they're a fucking rapist, molester, murderer, they should be taken in front of a jury of their peers to be judged. That's called due process. And we give due process to everybody, regardless of the crimes that they are accused of. That's what makes due process so important. Everybody is owed, according to American principles, due process. So whether you're a fucking molester, pedophile, rapist, murderer, or you're somebody who committed armed robbery 15 years ago and then served a prison sentence for like 5 years and then was living a life where you hadn't committed any more crime, it doesn't matter what your record is. Getting killed by the cops when you are not behaving in a way that is violent or indicates that you are some kind of a threat, it is unjust, it's anti-American, and I don't know why, Candace, you of all people, would be defending this. I thought you love America. Apparently you just love the big bucks, you know? Your love for America can quickly be blinded by a dollar sign. Fuck you.
I want to think he's a hero. Oh my gosh, what a brave man. We should be honoring him. We've gone from honoring Martin Luther King Jr. to honoring George Floyd on Juneteenth.
We can't honor both? Again, like, what? Okay.
Don't you see what's happening? It's the corrosion of values. It's the corrosion of ethics. It's making sure that Black Americans remain ignorant, making sure we are not educated, that we aspire to criminality.
What are you talking about? George Floyd, if anything, if you're going to take this logic, which George Floyd does not indicate this, but if you're going to make that argument, why wouldn't you then make the argument that a George Floyd situation symbolizes that the police are prone to violence? Like, Floyd was the victim here, Candace. Unironically victim blaming here, Candace Owens. Wow. Candace Owens would be the type of person to ask the girl what she was wearing after she gets, like, drugged and raped.
I've had a lot of time to reflect. I looked at that trend and I sat down and I thought really hard about why it was I was trending for so long and all of the people that I had upset along the way. And I just wanted to say to all of you that Juneteenth is so lame.
That's the end of the video. Non-arguments, anti-American rhetoric, crying because another holiday exists. Wow, Candace, you've really outdone yourself with this one. You know, it's kind of like this. Think about it like this. This is what Candace Owens reminds me of. Imagine you have somebody who's like a normal functioning human being, and then they fall because they decided to play football without a helmet or something, and they bang their head so hard that they actually like become a little bit handicapped mentally. So now you have somebody who's like only half functioning in a wheelchair, and then they get hit by a bus and acquire another mental handicap. That's kind of what Candace Owens reminds me of. Like, that's the level of deranged stupidity that seeps and oozes from this loser cunt. But here we have Candace Owens arguing that Juneteenth is lame, while not actually explaining any reason why, just making baseless assertions, and simultaneously proving that it is, in fact, her who is lame. Candace, you're the lame one. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click the bell so you get notified when I drop a new video.